Welcome into Running It Straight for your Wednesday, 3rd of May. We've got a lot to cover off between now and 4. Marcelo Montoya is going to join us around about 3:30 this afternoon, so we're going to shift a few things around of how we normally do the show. But it'd be good to catch up with Marcelo, who signed on for 2 more years with the Warriors early this week, and Kemp is going to bring up game 100 in the NRL this weekend, Magic Round against Penrith up Brisbane. So it's going to be a lot of fun catching up with him. Now, just before we do get underway, I've got to let everyone know about our Warriors voicemail, our One New Zealand Warriors voicemail. We're looking for the Warriors, the One New Zealand Warriors biggest fan. All you got to do is call 0800 37 GO Warriors. I've already done it. I've already left the voicemail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've already left
Can
it.
you leave
Don't
more
worry
than one?
about that. You can leave a couple. Yeah. One of them they took out, apparently it was too abusive. I started going off about a former coach.
Who, Daniel Anderson?
No, not Ando. Birthday today. Happy birthday to Daniel Anderson.
Happy birthday, Ando.
Anyway, dial 0800 37 GO Warriors. Leave a voicemail telling us why you're the Warriors one big fan, and you'll go into the draw to win an ultimate fan experience. Now, Kempy, we call the games from Outsmart. You know that tent off to the back right corner? You can get that exclusive. You can have the whole tent, basically.
How many people are you taking?
Oh, I think it probably fits 20 or so. Yeah.
20? Have you got 20
private
mates?
Bar. I'll find 20. Yeah, I'll bring a couple of yours, actually. Anyway, good to have you here, Kempy. I'm looking forward to catching up with Marcelo Montoya. He's a bit of a character and is finding himself in the centres at the moment. So I'm interested to ask him how he's finding that and whether he's got a preference, centre or wing. But that's the way Andrew Webster has put the side together for this weekend. We will talk about that very, very shortly, the team list named for Penrith and Magic Round on the weekend, but we always start the show just having a little bit of a wrap over the weekend. Kempy, we've had a couple of days to sort of digest it. We've spoken to people throughout the week on various shows. A disappointing loss to the Roosters, 14 points to 0. Very trying conditions, a lot of injuries for the Warriors as well. The attack just didn't get going, unfortunately. They had a lot of possession in the final third, just couldn't get over the line. Yeah,
and it was a big loss. Losing Tohu Harris the way that he's been playing, Sam, and in and around the middle of the ruck and offering that link as a pass, but also that deception of whether or not he's going to run the ball or pass the ball in and around middle forwards before he hits those sweepers out the back. Generally what that does is it creates a little bit of confusion for those middle defenders, and they stay compressed, and the blokes at the edge have to make some decisions based on what Tohu Harris is going to be doing, as opposed to just shifting it straight to Shaun Johnson and to Dawes Walker. And unfortunately for the Warriors on the weekend against the Roosters, they just didn't offer enough in the middle of the park as far as deception goes. And I thought, and I called it on the weekend, they were shifting it laterally too often without doing enough work in the middle of the park. So once again, you see the value that Tohu Harris offers to the team, not just because of his work rate, but because Andrew Webster has introduced basically a Penrith style of play where Cameron Ciraldo has become that linkage player where you don't know whether he's going to run or pass, but he's got such a fantastic pass ball player in the middle of the park that allows the likes of Luai and Cleary to excel and release those back edges.
Isaiah Yeo.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty disappointing they didn't get on the scoreboard. I think another part that they missed out on too was Chancellor Clockstead's play at the back end of sets, where he's carrying for 200 plus metres, but that vital play on the fifth tackle where he inevitably gets a quick play the ball so Shaun can kick the ball without too much pressure on him. Mate, Shaun Johnson did so well on the weekend to slip players to get that kick in. I'd say 90% of the time, Sydney City got it right as far as the kick chase went, and 90% of the time, Shaun got his kick away, which was phenomenal.
Totally.
But the biggest player that he missed on that play was Chancellor Clockstead, in the way that he just gets that ball played quickly, so he's got an extra half a second up his sleeve.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. You can text us on 8833, or you can comment on the YouTube feed as well. We've got all the comments up here ready to go, so we can talk through the game and how you saw it on Saturday. One that's just coming right now on the YouTube feed from Nathan says, our attacks seem to be a little one-dimensional. Could Volkman step in and make a difference?
Look, preferably I'd move Dawes Walker back to the middle and give him Tohu Harris's role, and I'd move Volkman back to 6, or I'd move Chanel, and I think this might happen. I think this might happen on the weekend.
I know where you're heading.
I think Chanel might move to 6, but Dylan might start in that lock position, and still have Dylan at the back there. It's does Tohu play? I think that decision, if Tohu does play, and I said that on breakfast this morning, if Tohu's 70%, he plays. And he knows how to manage himself through games, and I think it's really critical if he does play that that he does manage himself well, because we need him on the pitch for a long period of time. Otherwise, once again, our bench doesn't get utilised as it should be. But it's a age-old question, is it? Do you give the young bloke a go? I think today you have to.
Yeah, and I think too, given that this is Webster's first year, it probably is a good chance for him to try a few things out. That probably was going to be my next question, Kempy, is how much should Warriors fans be concerned for, I guess, the halter momentum from what was a really, really good start, and then that performance against the Roosters coming up against a very good Panthers team this weekend. Given the injuries, like, should we have reason to be a little bit concerned that we're going backwards, or would you just put it down simply to a lack of personnel?
Look, I don't think we're going backwards at all. I don't think the attitude, the culture or anything like that is suffering at all. Like, the players that we've been talking to are always talking about the trust that they have in their head coach and the amount of work that he's putting in behind the scenes to get them all to understand that where they need to be and exactly what role they need to play when they get the opportunity to either come in there or consistently stay inside the team. So I don't see that as a backward step. The reality of rugby league at NRL level is you are going to get injured. Okay, you are going to get injured, and it's about a little bit of luck and about how you manage those injuries and that to get them back onto the pitch as quick as possible. And unfortunately for the Warriors, we've got 10 players out at the moment, which is generally about half of our side. You know, we don't know whether Mitch Barnett's going to be playing again or when he's going to be playing again. You've got Tamari Martin out with a broken ankle. You know, you don't know if that's going to heal well. You know, there's a lot of unknowns, and then you throw on top of that the way that the HIA and the hip droppers come into the game. There's so many variables at the moment that the Warriors are so far behind the eight ball. I put it down to luck. I don't say you're going backwards. I say there's a bit of bad luck at the moment. We've got to get through this period. It just so happens to fall in our toughest period, which we've always said that they need to get a win out of these next three to go into the bye, because that'll keep them within the 8. But I don't think it's time to panic. I think that the closeness of the competition, Sam, and the way that the Warriors are going to play once they do get some quota back, they're going to get more wins than they're going to have losses. So I think it'd be nice of them to get one against Penrith or Canterbury and Brisbane coming into the next couple of 3 weeks. Very
keen to pick your brain about the Panthers game this weekend. Just a text that has come in here from someone no name, but it says, guys, when is the shoulder charge not a shoulder charge? That conversation's still going on.
Satili Tupunuia, you know what I mean? Like I said to a caller on the during the week, we can't make calls. We can point them out in our commentary, which we did, and I think, you know, there's a couple of big calls on the weekend that could have supported the Warriors and give them another opportunity. One of them was that one. They had a stoppage in play. He had his hand on his ear. The referee, I don't know who he was talking to, but you know, you got your hand on your ear, pushing your ear in to hear something. He's obviously reviewing the screen because we're watching it live, and they've decided no, that's fine, and that's their call. You know, that's their prerogative. But you know, everyone in the stadium is thinking different. That's what happens in the fan experience. The big one for me is James Tedesco dropping that football. Now, that's a momentum shift, you know, as opposed to having the drop out and having to defend for another set of 6. I just think those little, you know, I can see where Webby's going with it, because he doesn't want his players to start getting frustrated and buying into the rhetoric of, you know, it's the referee's fault. It isn't the referee's fault. We still have to stay on the football field and do a job. And even if calls go against you, you've got to be good enough to repel it. And what Webby's answer has always been is like, do your job first and let us deal with it after the game. And unfortunately on the weekend, look, they were just too good. Defensively, they smashed them. Yeah. And then they backed up it behind it and done a number and took their opportunities. The Warriors had a number of opportunities, especially down Jackson Ford's side. He had 3 chances. One, I thought, where he had to reach back and catch that ball and went onto his knees. I think if he caught that in front of him, he just waltzes over. So that puts us probably 8-6 and in the game. But the other 2, he got held up over the line. And you've got to give credit where credit's due. Sydney City's defence on the weekend was simply outstanding. Yep,
it was probably defence of the round, and the referee don't have a role to play in that, Kempy. So I think that's probably more where Andrew Webster's going to be looking. Just one more quick text to round out before we go to the break from Gavin. This is an awesome one that says, thank you so much from our family for the tickets to the Roosters game. Even though we lost, the money we saved on the free tickets meant the kids got to get some chips and a can of Coke. Shh, don't tell their mum. So grateful to SENZ. Made our whole year.
Oh, that's
You're
so
in our
cool.
prayers every night. God bless Gavin and family. So
yeah, well enjoyed, Gavin. It was a really good day there. The weather didn't play its part. We would have liked a firm track because both teams like to run the football. I just think on that defensive effort, Sam. Like jumping the fence once they'd done a job, especially on their kick chase, and then got stuck into the Warriors on the first 3 tackles, relentlessly throughout the game. They just took their opportunities, and we can talk about the changes to the Sydney City Roosters side that I thought were really good was Tupanua coming off the bench and Crichton on the edge. I actually think that's what the edge shape looks like in the future. I think they both go back into first grade. Yeah, and when you look at the Storm result the week before, I mean, these are games that in the past the Warriors would have been completely blown off the park. You only lose to the Storm by 8 points despite having no bench for 15 minutes, and you lose to the Roosters, like we said, very depleted on your first-rate starters, and you sort of only lose 14-0, I think is still an achievement. Sam's just texting as well saying that Fonzie, a good friend of ours on the show here, said on last week's potty that Webby has stated Volkman was played out of position against the Sharks, thinks of him more as a 7. Playing him would mean moving Sean, which is potentially unlikely to happen. And remember, Volkman did suffer a little bit defensively, Kempe, when we played the Sharks. Yeah. And probably just the result of going from New South Wales Cup to first grade, which is a big step up. And it is a big step up, and you can't hide in that position when you're 3 and on the edge and you've got players beside you that are doing a lot of work defensively. It's all about shape, especially when you have new players coming in, and you can be thrown out of shape really easily if you start to let your defensively your team down. And we saw that on the weekend when Tohu wasn't in it for us offensively. We couldn't do enough to their defensive shape to create those opportunities or more opportunities on the edges like we have done in the first 8 weeks. Send your text through on 8833 any questions that you have or talking points. You can also do them if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube. Just put them into the chat there and we'll pick them up. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have a look at this weekend. We'll go through the team lists the Warriors have named yesterday, Andrew Webster, for the game against the Panthers, as well as a few of the other key matchups. And remember, Marcelo Montoya, the Warrior who is going to bring up game 100 in the NRL this weekend, he's going to join us after 3:30. Yeah, welcome back into Running It Straight. Big thanks to South Seas Healthcare, Auckland's largest Pacific wellbeing service provider. A few texts that have come in here that we'll get to just before we run through the team list for Saturday against Penrith from Des. Kempe, just a quick thought on how to improve Golden Point. What are your thoughts about just 80 minutes rolling right into Golden Points and no stoppage, use fatigue in the contest? That's what Des's thoughts are. What do you reckon? Oh, you've got to have an end point, Des. Otherwise, you do have games where they'll just continually defend and attack, and the referee gets scared to make decisions. The thing I don't like about Golden Point is that all the rules go out of the game when Golden Point comes about. Like, I could pull up probably every set of 6 a penalty. Players offside, markers not straight, chasing out the kicker, being shepherded to be able to get that kick away and all that sort of stuff. So, it is a bit messy at the moment, but you do have to have a result. I think if you don't get a result, it sort of throws a lot of shade over the competition and the point system in the competition. So one of the ways to fix it, and I've talked about this a number of times, Sam, to you over the years, is that introduce a similar point system where you get 3. I always thought that instead of giving them 4 points for a try, give them 4 points for a try by a movement and 3 points for a try by a kick. Okay. You know what I mean? And that way you split the type of points scored, but you are advocating, I want to see running football, and I think... Are you saying just in general, like play as opposed to extra time? Mate, well, I haven't done the study, but I reckon if we went and done a study on how many points are being scored by kicks, it'd be a heavy percentage as opposed to tries being scored by a running movement. Mm-hmm. So I think what you can do is you can change that around and say, well, we're actually going to reward movement as opposed to kicking. Okay, and this is during the 80 minutes as opposed to... During the 80 minutes. It'd be interesting because then you get those situations like, it gets spread wide early and then they do that big kick back in field. Like that would count as a kick try, I'm presuming, or... any try that's scored by a kick. All right, there you go. But you can imagine you score 2 tries by a kick, you get 6 points. Yeah. You score 2 tries by movement, you get 8 points, and you kick those, you're out by 8 points. You're further away from a draw. What about some people have discussed, I know Jimmy Smith has brought this up as well over in Aussie, the way that the points actually work for wins, draws and losses. So, for example, you get 3 points for a win, you get 2 points for an overtime loss or an extra time loss, because you should get reward. That's the problem at the moment, is that if you go to Golden Point, you've tied the game at 80 minutes,
you get no reward if you lose in Golden Point.
Yeah.
So it's giving a team a reward for taking it to Golden Point.
And that's the messy part. Oh, look, I'm an advocate for every, if you take it 80 minutes, you should be rewarded.
Yeah.
Like you put your body on the line for 80 minutes. But the game these days now, and the rules say that you've got to put your body on the line until Golden Point. So, I think that works. What you just said around giving them different points, I think that's another point system that can extend the competition in a way similar to what Super Rugby does for extra, scoring an extra point for staying within 4 points or 8 points of the game.
Bonus point. 100%.
The bonus point.
Sam's texting, we need to make sure we win one of our next 2 games, go into the bye with a 6-5 record. This would be very good considering the teams we have played, the travel we have had to do, and the players we have been without. 5 teams in the 8 have all had byes, so the table is slightly skewed. Add 2 bye points, we should be well in the 8. We have a very cushy draw for the rest of the season with multiple back-to-back games against mostly bottom 8 sides. It would be very disappointing not to make the 8 from here. The next 2 games, Kempe, very important.
Totally agree. And we've been saying that for the last month, that this 4 weeks group of games is really important, that we do pick up one of those games going into the bye, because as you saw on the weekend, you can simply go from 9th to 4th or vice versa. And if we keep losing, we're going to slip out of that 8 and we're going to go to the bottom of the chasing pack, which is really, really tight. I think it's 4 points that separate the 1st and 13th side. So it ain't going to change, Sam. It ain't going to change in that next 4 weeks by too much. Through Origin, what you've got to be really careful of is that cream and the rosters, the better rosters, are starting to get some form, and they're going to start putting a gap in the top 4. And we know that if you're not in the top 4, then you're going to struggle to make a grand final. But I think this year, if Andrew Webster can take this team to the finals, I think it's a real good footing for him to build on the future.
Let's go through the team list for this weekend against the Panthers. Reminder, Marcelo Montoya coming up after 3:30. So starting at fullback for the Warriors, Charles Nicol-Kluster. The 2 wingers are Dallin Martinez-Zelezniak, Edward Cossey. The centres, Marcelo Montoya and Adam Pompey. The 2 halves, Dylan Walker, Sean Johnson. Then the front row, Adam Whanua-Blake, Bunty Afoa. They pair up alongside Wade Egan at hooker. Jackson Ford, Marata Niakora in the second row. Tohu Harris is the lock. Then on the interchange, we've got Bailey Sirin and Josh Curran, Dimitrik Sifokula, who made his debut against the Roosters, and Tom Ale. That is the 17. So obviously a couple of changes from the game against the Roosters, Kempe, and the big one, Tohu Harris, coming back in. So what do you make of that 17? Is it a strong enough 17 to beat the Panthers?
I think so. I think what you've got is you've got the 2 players back in Nicol-Klokstad and, of course, Tohu Harris that change the shape of the offence, especially. And our defence is pretty good. So you add those 2 players back into the side at the moment, I think it's productive, and they do take another step forward. On the other side against the Penrith side, that I guess is hurting a little bit. After the weekend losing to West Tigers, that the only team they can beat at the moment is a bye. So it makes for, apparently can't get tickets up in Brisbane at the moment. It makes for a really good Saturday afternoon, 5 o'clock kickoff, where the Warriors here up against the Premiers, you're going to get your best foot forward, because they're the benchmark, and already when you'll be looking at it, and if I was a player, I'd be looking at it and going, well, if West Tigers can do it, we're a way better side than that. What can we do if we put it together? Yeah,
absolutely. The Panthers team, I'll just read that out for you quickly. Dylan Edwards, fullback, Sunil Taruva and Brian Toto, the 2 wingers. Tyrone Peachy in the centres alongside Stephen Crichton. Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary are the 2 halves. Moses Leota, James Fisher-Harris, a big welcome back for the Penrith Panthers. Mitch Kenny starting at hooker, then Scott Sorensen, Zach Hosking in the second row, Isaiah Yeo, the 13. On the interchange, Sonny Luke, Lindsay Smith, Liam Henry and Jermaine Salmon. So a big in for the Panthers in James Fisher-Harris. But you're right, Kempe, the Panthers really haven't fired into gear really in 2023. They had the one big win against the Raiders and the Seagulls, actually 53-12 against the Raiders, 44-12 against the Seagulls. But then, narrowly escaping the Knights, 16 points to 15, lost to the Rabbitohs, 20 points to 18, and back-to-back lost to the Tigers. I can't remember the last time the Panthers lost back-to-back games. That's going to be tough, that against them. Ivan Cleary, if his side can't get up after losing 2 from 2 the last 2 weeks,
they're on a hat trick.
Scary, yeah, very scary.
I think I did think if Toru plays, wear a chance. So the big inclusion for the Panthers obviously is Fisher Harris comes back into the front row. It gives them more of a stable look through that middle of the park, and they would have watched the tape and how Sydney City really attacked the kicker and of course that kick chase in the first 3-4 tackles in the set of the Warriors and really got a roll on there. I'm not expecting the weather to be the same up in Brisbane. Could be proved wrong. I haven't checked the weather forecast. But for me, when you look at the sides, I think they can cancel them out, the top 13. It's really on the bench where the difference is. You know, you look at Sonny Luke coming off the bench. He's a fantastic player. Reminds me of Curacao as a young player when he was at South Sydney. Can get out, just got a really good little pass either side of the ruck and real good read. And of course the other big boys that are coming in there too to cover off that middle when they need a change. You know, Ivan's just got them doing their role. You know, and they don't need much of a break. You know, Fisher Harris was probably going to be the only one in that side that needs a break, but he's an 80-minute front row. You know, so I think Fisher Harris coming back, big inclusion for them. I'm thinking there's an injury to Nathan Cleary at the moment. So
yeah, he's under a little bit of uncertainty. He was against the Tigers. There was rumours that he wouldn't actually play the full 80, given if they were ahead. Of course, that never happened. So he did play the full 80. So whether or not that impacts his role this week, I guess it's a big TBC. He is named, obviously, but yeah. Yeah,
he is named, and Nathan Cleary's a tough kid. You know, if he can play, he'll play. But I think the telling point there is Crichton taking the kick at goal. You know, Nathan Cleary wouldn't give up anything unless he was hurting a little bit. How bad is he hurting? I think he's 50-50.
Okay.
Well, I think he's 50-50. And if they lose Cleary, we're a definite shot.
Game on, absolute game on. Jacko says don't expect the Panthers to play as poorly as they did last week. I think there will be a step up for sure. And, yeah, with sunny weather, if that is the case, then it'll be a different ball game altogether. Lots of attacking rugby league, and the Panthers love to do that. Just gone 3:30. Here we'll take some news, sport and weather when we come back. Marcelo Montoya is going to join us here on Running It Straight. Thanks to South Seas Healthcare, Auckland's largest Pacific wellbeing service provider. Running it straight here, we are 28 minutes away from 4 o'clock, and right on the line now, a man who signed a 2-year extension with the Warriors. Fantastic news, and we've got a comment actually on our YouTube channel here, which says from the Samoan Metalhead, that's his name here on YouTube, Kemp. It says, can you tell Marcelo, congratulations on the contract extension. He's a club cult hero. I think he quickly is turning into one. He joins us on the line now. Marcelo, welcome in.
Hey fellas, thanks for having me on the show.
Mate, firstly, obviously, congratulations on the contract extension. I'm sure it's been in the works for a while now, but you must be pretty stoked to sign on and stay at the club.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously very pleased with the news, and you know, me and my wife have settled into New Zealand, and we're really enjoying our time here. So, yeah, I'm very grateful for the opportunity that the club's given me to be able to stay here for another 2 years.
And this weekend, mate, this one nearly slipped under the radar on me, but playing game 100, which is an awesome achievement for anyone in the NRL, but pretty special for you, and Magic Round no less up in Brisbane. You got your family coming up as well to share in the occasion.
No, it is it's a cool it's a cool milestone for myself, but you know, I think the week's just been on focusing on how we can get these 2 points this week against the Panthers, and it's going to be a tough test, but. Yeah, in saying that, for myself, it is a proud moment. I know my family are very proud. At the moment, I think just my mother's coming up from Sydney, because we're from Sydney, my family. So it's a bit expensive to come up to Brisbane at the moment. So and obviously Magic Round Point doesn't help, you know, because all the teams are going to be there. So everyone's getting up to Brisbane. So but my mum's coming up, which will be special, and my wife's heading over as well.
Awesome.
Hey Marcelo, it's Kemp, mate. Thanks for joining us on the show this afternoon. Don't worry about the expensive flights, mate. You've just signed a multi-million-dollar deal. You'll be able to buy a plane, wouldn't you?
I wish, mate. I wish I got time for that kind of money. But it is. It's actually more expensive to fly from Sydney to Brisbane than it is from Auckland to Brisbane. So that's how expensive it's been. Yeah, so it actually is going up. But hopefully I can ask Rog to give me some of his money, and then we'll get that plane going.
I'll put a text out to Rog and see whether or not he'll give you one of his houses too, mate. You'll be able to house your mum over if the flights are cheaper to go back there. Hey mate, just talking on your positional switch to centre. You know, like you're coming up against a couple of good ones this weekend, and you've been outstanding, mate. That try that you put on for Ed Cossey a couple of weeks ago with the big fend and the swerve, and I know you would have added a couple more fends and more swerves by the end of the night. But mate, you're enjoying your football, obviously, and is your preference to play in the centre, or do you just want to be in the team?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think for myself, it's more so what's best for the team. I think I've really enjoyed my footy under Webby as a coach, and I think I've just kind of adapted to the way he's coached really well. And yeah, for myself, it's like if I'm in the team, then I'm happy, and it doesn't really matter if I'm on the wing or in the centres, or whether my role's playing off the bench, or But for me, it's more so just enjoying that, and what's best for the team is where I need to be, and if that's in the centres, then that's there, or if it's on the wing, then it's on the wing. But at the moment, just been enjoying it, yeah.
You can text us on 8833 if you've got a question for Marcelo, or jump on the YouTube channel as well, and you can comment just in the live chat there. Marcelo, something that we've talked a lot about over the last couple of weeks is the impact of Tohu Harris on the team, and often when he's out, we notice it a lot. Just from your perspective, what does Tohu bring to the team, both on field as a player, but also as a leader?
Yeah, Tohu's just like the ultimate professional in terms of the way he plays the game. He sees things on the field in terms of attack. He just kind of eases up the pressure off the halves in terms of our attack in good ball, and you can tell when he's not playing that we suffer in that area. But in saying that as well, his defense on the other hand, he just tightens up that middle for us and gets that, and just slows that ruck down for us edges out there as well. So he's a massive inclusion, and you can obviously see it when he's not playing. We miss him as a team.
Mate, Marcelo, I just want to sort of, love the way you play. I remember we were talking at the launch, and I called you the angriest man, and you said, "No, mate, I'm just full of energy." Just talk to me a little bit about your preparation, because one, you're super fit. Your energy is like infectious. Is there something, if a young kid's listening out there, or a parent that's taking their kids to training, what is it about Marcelo Montoya that is really, something that you've built your game on, and as far as preparation goes?
Yeah, I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten to understand, I guess, what I bring best to the team, and to just focus on that, and try not to be someone I'm not. So obviously when I'm carrying the ball, I like to carry the ball with intent, but I think also sometimes that energy can have a double effect, in terms of sometimes you exert too much in some areas, and that might cost you error or cost you this and that. So I think for myself, what I've learned over the years is more so how to challenge that energy, I guess, and just use it right for every moment, So I think for myself, that's been the biggest learn. And just being calm under certain situations. But yeah, I think for me, just being able to channel that energy, and just use it right for every moment.
Marcelo, something that I picked up on a couple of weeks ago, the Warriors' social channels, they do a great job of podcast and behind the scenes stuff, which is awesome. And something that they posted recently was you talking about not using social media at all. And I know you said in that clip that you don't really talk about it, but there'll be a lot of people listening who maybe didn't catch that. So that's true. You basically stay away from social media altogether.
Yeah. So I pretty much just stay off it. Yeah, altogether, pretty much. I think I went for a period there when I was at the Bulldogs, and I wasn't playing good footy, and I was probably down on confidence, and just mentally just wasn't there. And I think that probably stemmed down from me being on socials and getting involved too much of he say, she say kind of stuff, and that kind of just drove me to probably just say, you know what, it's probably not for me, and probably just to stay off it a bit more and just focus on my footy. And that's probably been what's good for me. I know some boys can have socials and be able to have that balance, but I've just realised that I can't be on there, and it's better for me to just stay off and focus on my footy, because that's when I know I'm playing good.
Yeah, that's a really smart thing to do, man. I congratulate you on doing that too, because tall poppy syndrome in this country, especially once you get involved in that, is quite damaging. One personally, but also to people that are around you. So well done on that. Hey, I just want to ask you one final question, man. Is just, you know, inside each club you've gone to, you've seen like how the culture's developed and different attributes of players like little increment changes that players make during their time at clubs. What is it for you at the Warriors that has really, I guess, you know, enlightened you to say, well, this is the reason why I want to sign at this club?
Yeah, mate, like for me, it's really simple, and it's just because like the club's such a place where I feel welcome, and my family, obviously my wife feels welcome, but also it's a place that you want to do good for, because there's just like so many good people around that work really hard for a good cause. Like they want the club to do really well, and that's what I want as well. Like after being here now, like being able to come over to New Zealand and live here and be a part of it and see how much the club means to the fans. That's what kind of like for me, like I'm obviously very driven, but like to see that and see how much this club means to the fans, that's obviously helped me make the decision easier, because it's just such a good place to be, and the people here, like they generally care about the club, and that's what makes me care about the club as well.
Yeah, well, 20,000 out in the rain on Saturday night, mate. That's if that doesn't show you how much it means, I don't know what will. Just before we let you go, mate, no social media. You probably have a bit of spare time on your hands. What do you do when you're not playing or training for the Warriors?
Yeah, mate, it's a good question. I kind of just float around. Like I read a lot of, like I read a few books here and there. If not, I just watch TV, or if not, take the dog for a walk. I mean, I do a lot of things, but mainly spend some time with the missus and just chill, because it's obviously just me and her here, so we just chill a lot, bro. And besides that, yeah, not much. I mean, if I get some more free time, I jump on and play the game. Like if any of the boys are playing the game, then I'll jump on and play with them. But besides that, yeah, just kind of hang around.
Nice, I love it. What's your TV series at the moment, mate? Everyone's always sending us in recommendations. What are you watching?
Yeah. So at the moment, me and my wife are watching that Ted Lasso. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. Ted Lasso, yeah.
Ted Lasso, yeah. So we're on that now. So they're releasing an episode every week. So one just came out today, actually. So we'll be watching that tonight. But it's a pretty good watch.
And who's your basketball team, mate? Who are you watching in the finals?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually don't watch the basketball. I don't watch any of that. The only other sport I ever watch is the tennis or the Formula One.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, well, French Open's coming up in a couple of weeks. So, what are you, Roger, Rafa, Novak? Who's your favourite?
I'm riding Rafa.
Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. Hey, mate, is there
Rafa's
I thought you'd be a curious man. He's got energy.
No.
Yeah, he does have energy, yeah.
And what are you, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull?
Man, you know what? I float around, but I love Lewis Hamilton, but I float around. But obviously, Red Bull's doing really well, and it's actually awesome to see like Max Verstappen. Like he's a freak, like honestly a freak. But I love Lewis Hamilton, so I'd say I'm Mercedes.
Yeah, nice. And is there any comparisons between Ted Lasso and Andrew Webster at all?
Now, you know what? They're like, in terms of them just being real chilled, I reckon. But I reckon just real chilled. But I think Webby, like the difference with Webby, he knows when to be, like he's not, like when I say chilled, I mean like he's chilled in his approach to coaching, but he knows when to put the foot down. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where Ted Lasso, he's kind of just chilled 24. No. He's chilled 24/7.
And no cheesy posters around Webby's dressing room either, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
love it, Marcelo, mate. Awesome to catch up with you, mate, and a special week for you as well with the contract extension and the 100th game. Go well.
Congratulations, mate.
Congrats, mate, and go well in Brisbane this weekend. It's going to be an absolute cracker.
Hey, thanks, fellas, and thanks for having me on, eh? Have a good afternoon.
You too, mate. Cheers. There you go. Marcelo Montoya there. I love him, Kemp. He's just open and honest. He's up for a good laugh as well.
He's a great chat. He was a great chat at the launch this year, and a very deep thinker, which I absolutely love.
Well, reading the books and going for the walks. I mean, that's certainly not what you associate with most rugby league players.
Come on, mate. We all read books. What do you mean? We're always walking. We've all got a dog.
When was the last book you read, Kemp?
There we go. What's it called? It's called Office Max A5 Notebook. Have you seen that? Have you read that?
Who's the author of that one? Is it? Yeah. It's sort of a self. You sort of do it yourself as you go. Don't you? Interactive. It's an interactive novel. Great to catch up with Marcelo there. We will take a short break. When we come back, we'll have a look at some of the other big games this weekend. Magic Round. It is a big weekend on the Rugby League calendar up there at Suncorp. Running it straight thanks to South Seas Healthcare, Auckland's largest Pacific wellbeing service provider. Back in a mo. Couple of messages on our YouTube channel just during the Marcelo Montoya chat. From Mark, Montoya has been great for the Warriors. Stoked to have him in the club's future. Jacko says, I prefer Montoya on the wing, bringing the ball back after deep kicks. He is a great watch. Mikey wanted us to ask Montoya how he handles the ref calls. We didn't manage to get that one to him. And the Samoa Metalheaders message again saying, I would play Tohu if he wasn't 100%. Oh, I wouldn't play Tohu if he's 100%?
Yeah, no.
Be cautious.
Look, there's a lot of people that come out and say, look, let's just rest him up and get him right. I think what you have to do with his knee this year is you have to manage it through the year. It's one of those injuries that isn't going to go away unless you actually say you need to take probably 3 months off and get it right. Yeah. So they don't have that luxury with Tohu. What you get at the moment is you're going to get a physio and a medical department working overtime to get him ready for week in, week out. Let's talk about a couple of the other big games this weekend. I'll fire through the smaller ones. So starting, no Thursday night football this week. So on Friday at 8 p.m, you got the Bulldogs v the Raiders. Oh, yeah.
Green Machine?
Yeah, I do think the Green Machine. Look, they're a bit scratchy, the Bulldogs. And I think with the Jack White and stuff that's going on, did you see the sticky crying in the press conference?
Yep.
That emotion, that release of emotion, and now that Jack White knows what his future is all about, I think you're going to see something pretty special out of Jack White for the rest of the year.
Okay, so Raiders for you on Friday.
I think I'm picking the Raiders.
Late night Friday game is the Broncos Seagulls. Broncos welcome back Ezra Mann, Payne Haas, who have been big losses for them. They got thumped by the Rabbitohs, which may have dented the confidence a little bit. But the Seagulls, they're struggling through their way through as well. So what do you reckon?
Get both their centres back. Parker's back alongside Cooler, and of course they lost Jake Trebojevic, but Tom Trebojevic is named to play. I think Manly are hot and cold. I think the Broncos with Haas coming back and Ezra Mann are just probably going to kind of boot on again in front of a home crowd that's going to be sold out.
Even though it's an away game, go figure. Sharks Dolphins is the Saturday 7:30 game. Does Nico Hines put on an absolute clinic again?
I think. Well. See, they'll turn out plenty of supporters, Redcliffe, at Brisbane to follow. So I think I don't think they're going to beat them by a lot, like they have done in the last few weeks. I think the Dolphins will compete, but I think the Sharks will be too good.
Game of the round is 9:45 Saturday even. Storm Rabbitohs.
Yeah, I'm going Rabbitohs.
Yeah.
I just see the Rabbitohs the form team at the moment.
Storm coming off the bye.
Yeah,
a few players back.
Yeah, I think that's the worst thing for them coming off the bye because they're going to hit red hot Rabbitohs. They're just going to put a clinic on.
It's going to be a great game. Fantastic game Saturday late night. Sunday, and probably the worst game of the round is the Tigers Dragons.
Well, gee, big changes, eh? Zach Lomax, he made their breaks. I'll tell you what, if he made their break 70 metres and scored that try, we would have been phoning Griffin.
You jinxed it.
We would have been phoning Griffin.
I told
leave him in the side.
It was Gareth, not Griffin, and I told you jinxed it, Kempy. So what do you reckon, Tigers Dragons?
I'm going Tigers. I think you can get 2 in a row.
Wow, fantastic. Roosters Cowboys Sunday at 6 p.m.
Roosters, and I picked this game. Roosters. If you want to have a multi on the weekend, I gave it out to the Giddy Up on the SEN today. I'm going to take Roosters 13 plus, and I would back Brandon Smith and Joey Manu to score. You gave me a multi with the Roosters 2 weeks ago, Kempy, and you burnt me. Yeah, I spent all my money, my hard-earned money. Well, now Charlie doesn't have a college education. It's hard to get burnt when you only put a packet of chips on it. Last game, Titans Eels, Sunday late night. Oh well, I think Titans are going to have too many injuries. I think the Eels are going to die. Interesting. Weird how it's a home game for some of these teams, even though it's Brisbane, but that's just the way it works, I guess. There you go. Those are the big games this weekend. We'll take one more break, come back and wrap the show. Running it straight thanks to South Seas Healthcare, Auckland's largest Pacific wellbeing service provider. Just coming up to 4 o'clock, the run home not far away. Beaver back in the run home after a couple of weeks away up in France. Lucky for some. Is Izzy going to be back tomorrow, Kempy? Of course he is, mate. Well, mate, you were saying that on Monday about yesterday. No, it's Paulie Moati put the curse on him. The curse on him, and like you and Zach Lomax. Sorry, Gareth. Was it? Yeah, it was Gareth. $3.5 grand. It was Gareth, $3.5 grand. Yep. You got done. It was Sam. It was Sam, actually Gareth.
Looking forward to Magic Round this weekend. Myself and Kempy will be calling the Warriors v Panthers game, 5 p.m. kickoff on Saturday evening, so tune and join us there. We have every Warriors game live. And don't forget to call the Warriors voicemail. Put yourself in the draw to win that amazing experience. One New Zealand's trying to find the Warriors' number one
Come
fan.
on, the Warriors. Let's go.
Big shout out to everyone listening and watching on YouTube, as well as here on SENZ. We'll be back next Wednesday.